I was working as a lot attendant at a grocery store, and a kid threw up all over a display of Entenmann snack cakes. In my eagerness to clean it up, I tossed away the entire display, only to be scolded by my manager and made to pick out the vomit-covered boxes from the dumpster. Here's what happened. When I was 16, I worked at a local grocery store. My official title was lot attendant, which is a fancy way of saying I was the guy wrangling grocery carts and trying to keep the parking lot from getting out of control. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it gave me some spending money. My main job was to make sure the parking lot stayed neat and the carts didn't take over the place. However, I also had some other tasks like taking out the trash, emptying ashtrays, and handling various odd jobs inside the store. These tasks were usually pretty simple, but they did break up the routine of cart duty. One otherwise ordinary afternoon, a woman taps me on the shoulder inside the store. She looked really stressed, like only parents with young kids seem to look. "I'm sorry, but my kid just threw up all over that display," she says, looking both embarrassed and desperate. She points towards a display of Entenmann snack cakes sitting in the middle of some aisles. As I follow her gaze, I see it. A toddler had clearly thrown up all over the display. There was puke everywhere, on the boxes, on the floor, even splattered onto nearby shelves. It was a huge mess. Now, at 16, I wasn't exactly a puke cleanup expert, but I had a strong stomach and a can-do attitude. I think to myself, I've got this. So, I gather up all the affected boxes, trying to touch as little of the vomit as possible, and haul them out to the dumpster behind the store. The smell is horrible, but I power through it, determined to clean up the mess. As I toss each box into the dumpster, I'm mentally patting myself on the back for being so efficient. Crisis averted, I think. Job well done. As I'm dusting off my hands and heading back into the store, a manager spots me. He's one of those managers who always seems slightly stressed out, perpetually juggling a dozen problems at once. "What did you just do?" he asks, looking suspicious. I say, "I cleaned up a big mess. A kid threw up on everything." He replies, "Yeah, but you can't just throw a whole display away. There's a process for this. Inventory. We have to report these losses." I respond somewhat defensively, "I push shopping carts, man. I don't know anything about that stuff." He lets out a long, weary sigh and says, "This isn't going to be fun for either of us." Next thing I know, he's lowering me by my ankles into the dumpster. I have to fish out all the vomit-covered snack cake boxes, one by one. It's a disgusting task, even worse than cleaning it up in the first place. The smell is overpowering, and I'm pretty sure I'll never get the stench out of my clothes. I'm gagging the entire time, but I manage to retrieve every single box. After extracting the vomit-covered boxes, the manager then leads me to the back office. There, he explains that each item has to be scanned into the computer system as a loss. Apparently, there's a whole procedure for handling damaged goods, one that I had completely bypassed in my eagerness to clean up the mess. He shows me how to enter the details into the system, a process that involves a surprising amount of paperwork and scanning. As I'm sitting there learning how to input data into a computer, I can't help but think about how absurd the situation is. Here I am, a 16-year-old kid who just wanted to do a good job, now knee-deep in the grocery store's inventory management system because of a toddler's vomit. It's almost laughable, but I'm too tired and grossed out to find it funny at the time. Finally, after the process is complete, the manager thanks me for my efforts, though his tone suggests he's still annoyed about the whole situation. I head to the break room, hoping to wash off some of the filth and maybe salvage what's left of my shift. I scrub my hands and arms furiously, trying to get rid of the smell and the feeling of grossness that seems to have permeated my very soul. I finish out my shift in a bit of a daze, replaying the day's events in my head. It's the kind of day that makes you question your life choices, even at 16. By the time I clock out, I'm exhausted and more than ready to go home. When I get home, my mom takes one look at me and asks what happened. I give her the short version, and she laughs so hard she nearly cries. At the time, I don't see the humor, but looking back, I get it. It's one of those ridiculous, only in retail stories that you can't help but laugh about eventually. But in case you're curious, I haven't touched an Entenmann snack cake since. The mere sight of them brings back memories of that disastrous day, and the smell is forever etched in my brain. So there you have it, the day I became intimately acquainted with the inner workings of grocery store inventory systems and learned the hard way that sometimes a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. It's a funny story now, but it's also a reminder of just how unpredictable and bizarre life can be, especially when you're a 16-year-old lot attendant just trying to do your job. And who knows, maybe someday I'll be able to look at an Entenmann snack cake without gagging. But I wouldn't bet on it.